So quick sound check. Okay, if this here, it's not going to conflict? Doesn't sound like it.
No.
Great. First of all, Happy Easter. And secondly, I'm really pleased to see a whole bunch of you here. I had braced myself that this was going to be something where I would be lucky if we got a minion, which is like 10 people would be enough. Dainu. But I want to do something that we have done in this church for many, many years, regardless of whether it's a holiday or not. And that's just a chance to look to the person next to you, behind you, somewhere nearby. Just have a chance to greet that person, wish them good morning.
Good morning.
Tell them looking at them is like seeing sunshine on a cloudy day.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day.
Yes, and all of you who are on Zoom, reach out across your square to someone else in the same rectangle and wish them well for the Easter Sunday. So a couple quick housekeeping announcements. Today's service will last almost as long as Lent, but afterwards there will be a chance to enjoy refreshments, and these beautiful flowers were gifted to us by Chris and Rocky, who unfortunately won't be able to be here, but I was so grateful that they still came through with those. For those of you who might be somewhat new here, there's information about All Souls and about Unitarian Universalism and pamphlets that you can find outside. And there's also many of us here that you could speak to afterwards, myself included, who'd be happy to share a little bit about our congregation. So now I invite everyone to do something that we do all the time. Breathe, but to do it consciously.
Not in the kitchen with them.
Really take a moment to savor this simple daily miracle.
Legs.
There's no holiday for breathing,
I'm sure it was like me leaning
but
against
there would
the
be
fence.
no holidays
Like pushing against the fence
if we
falling like
didn't
I know
remember to every so often pause
I've got a big bruise on my leg
and
like
really
this, where
relish
I think
the way that
I
we
was
can
standing up against the
take in
trailer,
oxygen
red trailer, and he was
and
clipped on,
replenish ourselves.
and I thought myself very smart.
A moment to be present.
Standing there, sort of flushed. My right side was
To be
out
at
just a
peace.
little bit, and when he
In the words of Reverend Kathleen McTeague, we're here together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment at the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment and the next moment, and stop and claim for ourselves the awareness and the gratitude. That moment when we know to look into one another's faces and see connection. In this house of laughter and tears, memory and hope, made hallowed by our presence here together. And may Brian's prelude be a kind of passport to a moment when, if you choose to, you can close your eyes and allow the music to take you to wherever your soul wants to travel. Thank you, Brian. So I've invited Kate to come up and light our chalice. And just for the occasion, I wrote a little poem. Flame of miracles, light of divine clarity, beacon of insight and alacrity. Kindle our compassion, ignite our vision of community, spark in our minds a sense of wonder, radiate the hope that shines in our hearts, that illumines our faith and binds us in a fellowship that sometimes flickers but does not fade. So with those inspiring words, I invite you to share and read aloud with me even more inspiring words that were the result of a very creative collaboration to come up with a covenant, a way that we could kind of put down on paper the principles and beliefs that bind us together. I'll read that tiny script that's underlined, and then after that, please let's all read it together in unison. In this house, we covenant with one another to create a community built on a foundation of love, to work together to promote equality, justice, and peace, accepting responsibility for our individual acts, to stand on the side of love, embracing the liberation of the oppressed and working to end discrimination and unjust privilege, to communicate with kindness and support, and to serve with compassion and commitment, to listen respectfully and value our diversity as a source of our collective strength, to learn and grow together, generously sharing our time, talents, and treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery, from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, and to openly share our laughter and our tears, showing reverence for the divine in all that is. Amen. So, in the spirit of generously sharing our time, I'm really glad that you've taken the time this morning to be here. It means a lot to me personally, and I think it means a lot to our church that we get to start Easter Sunday this way. I also value your talents. Every person in this room has some interesting gifts, and at coffee hour we will go around and everyone will have a chance to do a little performance. No, I'm teasing. But sometimes it's also helpful if you can be generous with your cold hard cash. So at this point, Brian's going to play a little generosity sparking music and invite any of you who can to please make a contribution.
All right, and this is a Passover song called Avadim Hayinu, and the Hebrew says, "Once we were slaves, now we are free." I'm going to do it, I guess, in a reggae style, just for the fun of it. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu, hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorim, b'nei chorim.
Thank you, brother. You had him rocking in the pews. The reading is something that began during the pandemic. I first penned the first part of this, and it's kind of stayed with me because while on some levels, thank goodness, parts of the pandemic, the COVID virus and other things that were such a modern plague seem to have been somewhat resolved, there are other things that continue to be versions of what in the Passover Seder are referred to as the plagues. And each of the modern plagues I tried to juxtapose was something that has stayed a remarkable constant, and that's the resiliency of nature. It's entitled Split Scenes. An invisible villain, the virus defies detection. Sturdy trees openly sway to the tempo of the March zephyrs. A brash bully crashes sovereign borders. Snowmelt slowly seeps into soil. Slogans steeped in propaganda spread. Deep in the primordial mud, fresh life incubates. In the body politic, divisiveness is a disease on democracy. Vernal pools and venomous partisanship coexist like simultaneous truths. Heavy rainfalls turn stagnant puddles into small ponds. Insidious polarization, a political pandemic. Fake news and fecund nature, like photo negatives. One side a shadowy image of humanity in a handbasket, the other a glossy picture, a harbinger of hope. Parallel travesties of Putin transgressions and Mideast tragedies, emergency evacuations, military conflagrations, the New World Order. Social norms upended, the rule of law in free flow, nature, steady as she flows. Fairy shrimp and tiny tadpoles glide into being. Transatlantic meltdowns vie with transitional growth spurts. Shores blockaded, shallow waters teeming with salamanders. In search of solace, we quietly step into the woods. Along a muddy path we walk. Fresh watering holes emit a familiar sound. Shh, listen, don't move. They'll sing. They do. Louder. Hearing their high-pitched notes help us take heart. No matter how virulently the Ukrainian death toll rises, and Israel and Hamas violently chain react, the peepers still serenade the season, vibrantly proclaiming, it's spring, it's spring, it's spring, spring, spring. So we are going to do a little course correction. In theory, it seemed like a song, O Day of Light and Gladness, would be a great fit for today's celebration of spring holidays. The practical matter is that it's got a really tricky melody to sing. So fortunately, Brian is very versatile, and hopefully you will be as well. And instead of turning in your hymnal to number 270, turn to 100. And all the stress will vanish, and we will have peace like a river.
I've got peace like a river.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I begin with two truths and an alibi. My middle name is Marcus, after my mother's cherished uncle who was a rabbi. As I stand here at the front of All Souls, Marcus is roiling in his grave. No, it's bad enough my boychik belongs to a church. Now he's leading the service. A Peck in the pulpit, oi, gewalt. Leave it to you to have its Easter service led by a Talmudic Jew. Okay, so maybe Talmudic is somewhat a stretch for someone who's somewhere between reformed and refurbished. Take heart, Marcus. I'm no rabbinical scholar, but to paraphrase Albert Camus, if Easter comes, can Passover be far behind? Religious or not, regardless of how we were raised, today, all of us can share in a spirited celebration of our most non-denominational season, spring, the vernal equinox, an annual alignment when darkness and daylight are the same length, and the distance between my to-do list and didn't-do list keeps widening. Spring is both a season and a state of mind. To quote the late Robin Williams, spring is nature's way of telling the planet, let's party. Come the end of March, rites of spring and religious cross-currents extend from the traditional Easter egg hunt on the White House lawn to the ceremonial breaking and furtively hiding of the matzah that in the Passover service is called the afikomen. I was in a big Seder with lots of cousins, and they were all older than me, and when they said, okay, hunt for the afikomen, whoever gets it gets $5. In those days, that was a big, huge sum of money, and every year the older kids would find it. And one year, my Uncle Michael said he was gonna hide the afikomen. And I got like a telepathic sense that my crazy Uncle Michael was not going to hide the afikomen in like the normal place that one would hide the afikomen, under pillows or behind a cabinet. And while everyone ran off to look in all those familiar, tried and true hiding places, I had like this premonition that my crazy Uncle Michael had actually hid the afikomen in the wastebasket. So I looked in the trash, and there was the afikomen. And that may be my proudest memory of my early years at Passover. To atone for my failures at spring cleaning, my penance today was to distill the season's meaning across a wide array of countries and cultures into an egalitarian sermon that serves up a multicultural stew fit for the e pluribus unum and USA UU. To help me assemble the ingredients, I invite you to come with me on a tour of common themes and uncommon traditions, ranging from Christian and Jewish to Hindu and Zoroastrian, with a pinch of Buddhism to boot. Our first stop is India, where every spring they celebrate Holi, the festival of love. After assembling a ginormous pile of wood, lovingly soaked with traditional dyes, they light a huge bonfire and poof, once it's ablaze, the carefully dyed wood releases large plumes of colorful smoke. It's an explosion of vibrant joy. As the women and men dance ecstatically between the billows of rainbow clouds, the children have free rein to throw water on the fire and at each other. All they need now is Neil Diamond belting out, "Holly, holy, holy." But I regress. In Bulgaria, the 2nd February ends. They celebrate Baba Marta, Grandma March Day. Old and young exchange martinici, intertwined red and white bracelets and brooches. Bulgarians wear the wristlets and pin the decorative jewelry to their clothing in eager anticipation of warmer weather. Whenever people see the first blossom on a fruit tree, they tie them to the blooming branch. And as the season emerges and the flowers unfurl, you can see entwined red and white strings tied up in gardens and parks all across the country. Martinici are colorful harbingers which symbolize health and happiness. They're considered lucky charms that portend bountiful harvests, ward off evil spirits, and chase all the poisonous snakes out of the land. Oh, wait, that's St. Patrick on the Shamrock Shore. Well before March 17th, Bosnians in the town of Zenica celebrate Simborijada, the spring festival of scrambling eggs. I kid you not. Never mind putting eggs in a basket. Bosnian boys and girls scramble them in a public feast that's a pure delight. Throughout the city, residents gather around giant pots for the communal making and sharing of breakfast. Picture it. All morning, families and neighbors breaking bread together in the park and in picnic spots by the river. What a simple and delicious welcome to spring. But in little old Ireland, legend has it the wee leprechauns took it a step further. Well, wouldn't you know it? They dug into their pots of gold, and sure and begar, if they didn't treat me whole village to a heaping helping of green eggs and emerald ham. A diet right out of Dr. Seuss's heart it was. April Blarney. Hey, tomorrow being the 1st, I couldn't resist. But no fooling, today is Easter, with everything from bunnies to bonnets to bonbons. These and other Easter icons, eggs, baby chicks, tulips, symbolize rebirth in the natural world and renewed hope for humanity. The holiday's central theme is a clarion call to redemption and a buoyant belief that love triumphs over despair. It's a time to gather with family and friends and jointly rejoice in Jesus' eternal promise and take heart that faith will always find a way. Small wonder around the world, Easter is a communal celebration of spiritual optimism. Along with the most well-known rites and rituals, like the 46-day preparatory season of Lent, I found a few surprises. My favorite twist is a time-honored tradition among African American families where parents cleverly conceal a specially hollowed-out golden egg representing Jesus' empty tomb. On March 21st, the first full day of spring, Central Asian communities around the world celebrate Nowruz. Though the festival is rooted in Iranian and Zoroastrian tradition, its rites and rituals span disparate cultures and climates. Nowruz means new day in Persian, but it kicks off an entire month of extravagant spring celebrations. It begins with revelers leaping over bonfires and only gets wilder and better from there, inspiring a CNN reporter to say, think Christmas, New Year's Eve, and July 4th all combined. In Uzbekistan, they put their own spin on Nowruz, centered around sumalak, a wheat bran pudding lovingly prepared to reinvigorate people's bodies after the chill and stagnation of winter. The wheat is placed into pots of water where it sprouts, then it's crushed to make a paste, which is mixed and cooked with other ingredients for hours. It's a very intricate ritual. I could tell you the exact contents and proportions, but then I'd have to kill you. Back in Uzbekistan, where all the ingredients are naturally sourced, the long cooking process has the added benefit of bringing people together. The careful preparation honors tradition, promotes collaboration, and strengthens community. The final product is served warm and is warmly savored by family and friends as they celebrate the beginning of a new season, the Chai Sumalak. In Japan, the vernal equinox is a national holiday that goes by the name Shunbun no Hai. It is preceded by 3 days of a Buddhist celebration of the other shore, a time to honor ancestors who have crossed over to the next stages of life. During Higan, parents and children clean loved ones' gravestones and leave behind offerings of rice dumplings. My luck, come spring, instead of rice dumplings, we got matzo ball soup and gefilte fish. The menu aside, Jews customarily have 2 nights of Passover. The Hebrew name for the holiday is Pesach, which means to pass over, as the angels of death did when they spared the Jewish households in Egypt, and God parted the waves, allowing Moses and his followers to pass over the Red Sea. Pesach is celebrated at a communal table where all ages participate in a seder, a ritual meal, commemorating the Jewish people's liberation from bondage. Each course memorializes the Exodus, recounting the obstacles and retelling the miracles in a way that both reinforces gratitude and continued vigilance. In the retelling, families read responsively from a traditional text called a Haggadah, whose contents can vary considerably, but be it Orthodox or Reformed, each has a central message. None of us are free until all of us are free. That one line is probably the biggest reason that I feel proud to be Jewish. Just as there are many forms of bondage, persecution, prison, pride, poverty, prejudice, pollution, so too are there many forms of liberation: fair wages, clean air, the right to vote, to marry, to dissent, to forgive. I listed that last one in honor of my grandma Betty, who once responded to someone angrily talking about a recent divorce as being emancipated from slavery. She responded by reading a small note card that said, "Forgiveness is when we set a person free and realize the prisoner was us." Just as I was thinking this might be a good time to open the door for Elijah, the prophet who legend has it likes to drop in, my dad burst into my favorite Passover song. The name of it and the whole chorus are all the same word. Maybe you can even play it. Those of you who know it, please join me on it. And those of you on Zoom, sing along. A one, a two, a you know, die, die, a new, die, die, a new, die, die, a new, die, a new, die, a new. Come on. Die, die, a new, die, die, a new, die, die, a new, die, a new, die, a new. Last time. Die, die, a new, die, die, a new, die, die, a new, die, a new, die, a new. After a particularly spirited singing, my then 3-year-old daughter, Jazz, looked up at me and she said, "Daddy, who is Anu? And why does he have to die?" In the joyful Jewish festival of Passover, Dayenu is both a chorus and a call to contentment. In Hebrew, the word Dayenu means enough. As in, if God had but spared us from Pharaoh, that would be enough. Dayenu. You with me? Good, because in the next 3 sentences, anytime I say the phrase, "that would be enough," please respond, Dayenu. If all the Jews had to make it through the desert was matzah, that would be enough. Dayenu. If the only gift we get on Easter Sunday is a good night's sleep, that would be enough. Dayenu. If the only person who showed up to hear my sermon was my boyhood friend from New Jersey, Gary Cannon, that would be enough. Dayenu. Maybe the reason Dayenu and the idea of enoughness is so dear to me is because the first person I heard it from outside the song at the Seder was my beloved Grandpop David. We were beachcombing in Atlantic City, home of the $1 Million Pier and the amazing diving horse. At 7, I had my heart set on finding a giant conch shell, just like my teacher had shown us at school. Towards the end of the time we had before my grandma Ida had dinner, I saw a starfish. My grandpa picked it up and told me, "Robbie, we didn't get a conch shell, but the ocean gods let us catch a starfish, and no, isn't that Dayenu?" I just shook my head. I didn't understand. He rolled up his sleeve and said, "Besides, Wojciech, I'm not sure I've got the strength to carry a giant conch shell." Then he crooked his arm and cranked his wrist, and a muscle popped out the size of a grapefruit. "Grandpa, you're as strong as Popeye the Sailor Man. Do you eat spinach?" Touses my hair and tells me, I eat whatever my Ida puts on my plate." "Everything, Grandpa?" "Every last bite. I know it's healthy, because the minute my Ida sets it down, she tells me, 'Eat this, Dave, if you know what's good for you.'" My grandpop laughs. I don't get what's funny, but I love him, so I laugh too. When he's done, he looks at me strangely. "Robbie, you don't need spinach for a miracle to take place. No matter what's on the menu tonight, after dinner, I'll show you one." I bounce up and down yelling, "Yippee, yippee." At the end of the meal, I see him whisper something to my grandma Ida. She frowns, shakes her head, and hands him a paper bag. He opens it and collects all the table scraps. Leftover potatoes, scrambled eggs, fried matzah. He didn't miss a morsel. After he scooped up every last reject, he folds over the bag and puts it in the pocket of his old blue windbreaker. Then he tosses me my bright red jacket and says, "All right, Robbie, are you ready for a miracle?" I don't know what's happening to me. My Yiddish is becoming Irish. I'm telling you, son, you watch. If one comes, they'll come by the hundreds. Clueless, I follow him outside and onto a familiar path. The night air is warm and mixes with my excitement. We reach the nearest entrance to the boardwalk. My grandpa leans over and whispers, "Hobby, this is where the adventure begins." I shout, "Yay! I can't wait. I love adventure, and I know where this one is heading. My grandpa's taking me to the $1 Million Pier, the amusement park with all my favorite rides and 4 different kinds of cotton candy. But why did he call it a miracle? Wait, I got it. We're going to see the amazing diving horse. Yes!" Suddenly, my grandpa veers off the boardwalk and heads us straight for the Atlantic Ocean. Even from a distance, I can see the surf splashing across the shore. And as we get closer, I see the whitecaps swelling, hear the cries of the seagulls, and smell the salt water. Pointing to a gull, my grandpa lowers his voice and asks in a hushed tone, "You see that bird, Hobby? Did you know it's Jewish? No, with a name like Sigel and loves to eat. It's got to be a Jewish bird." I don't get the joke, and I definitely don't get what it has to do with a miracle. My grandpa arcs his neck and follows the seagull's flight as it glides in a lazy, slow circle. "Mark my word, Boychik, if one comes, they'll come by the hundreds." I don't buy it. I mean, come on, I've seen a bunch, maybe 10 or 15 at the same time, but 100? No way. My grandpa pops a squat and pats the sand next to him. I plop beside him and ask, "Are you sure this is an adventure?" He wraps his arm around me and whispers, "No, would I lie to my grandson?" Then he pats the pocket of his windbreaker, removes the rolled up paper bag and says, "To most, these are scraps. To me, they're the seeds to a miracle." My eyebrows shoot up and I blurt, "Leftovers? They're what you're going to use to make a miracle come true?" He winks. "You watch, Robbie. All we need is one sigel with a good nose for a free meal." I see him carefully pace out a large rectangle. On each corner, like some kind of rabbinic ritual, he carefully pours out 1/4 of the table scraps. Then he gazes skyward and says in his best Ida impersonation, "All right, Jewish birds, supper is served." I pipe up, "Eat if you know what's good for you." My grandpa laughs, sits next to me. For several long minutes, nothing happens. Under my breath, I grumble, "Some miracle. Give me a diving horse any day." In mid-mumble, a single gull dives down, grabs a scrap in its beak, and beats it out of there. My grandpa watched the thief fly off and says, "Game on, Robbie." I don't know how to break it to him that a seagull scarfing up a stale crust of bread is no biggie. Scavenging on the beach is just what they do. 15 seconds later, the gull is back for more. This time, he's brought several sidekicks. "You see, Robbie, it's happening. First one sigel, and then another, and more and more." Darned if 1 minute later, the number of gulls isn't 3 times as many. Soon the amount is growing so rapidly, I can't keep count. Wow, this is awesome. Triumphantly, my grandpa gets to his feet and shouts, "What'd I tell you, son? If one comes, they come by the hundreds." Awestruck, we stare at the once empty rectangle, now swarming with seagulls. No, Robbie, did you ever see this many Jewish birds? I shake my head happily and shout back over the shrill of the seagulls, I love you, Grandpa, it's a miracle. He points to the last rays of the sun fanning out over the ocean. This too, my Robela, is a miracle. And if there's a human, apparently this part will be delivered Irish as well. If there's a human who's figured out how to get the sun's rays to sparkle across the surf like a dance of rippling light, they're my pick for the Nobel Prize. I looked at my grandpa with pure, unadulterated 7-year-old reverence. I was too little to have the language to express it. Still, even at that tender age, some part of me knew that for my grandpa David, all days are days of awe. Every morning, a parting of the Red Sea. Every afternoon, a spiritual resurrection. And every sunset, a miracle anew. Dayenu. So we're going to hopefully all rise and sing hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered. I picked this because the lyrics of this song always makes me feel like it's what we do when we share candles of joys and sorrows, which will be coming right after this.
Here we have gathered side by side.
Circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, matter small and great. We of all ages, women, children, men, infants and sages, sharing what we can, sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us. As we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song. To the candles. So, in the spirit that I feel like that song does such a nice job of revealing, it would be a time now for us to share with each other something that either is a source of joy, something that it's, a joy shared is a joy doubled in many ways, but in the same way, a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved, So if there's something that is hard, but by sharing it, you're able to get a little bit of that feeling that other people are hearing and caring, that's what we're looking to do. We're not looking to make any kind of political pronouncement. It's not a time to speak at any great length. I'm certainly a wonderful example of that. So is there someone who would like to light a candle of joy or concern? Great. And why don't you say your name too?
Hi, I'm Robin Panagakos, and I am a great-grandmother as of yesterday. Miss Aurora Stevens entered the world in Houston, Texas. Thank you.
Say, it's such a wonderful joy. Just say it again, but hold the mic closer, close to your mouth.
My great-granddaughter, my first great-grandchild. Okay. Was born yesterday in Houston, Texas. My first great-grandchild.
I'll share. They're just not able to hear you because it's too far away. But Robin is sharing a wonderful joy. She is a grandma, and her grandchild was born, great-grandchild was born in Texas, I believe. All right, who else would like to share a candle of joy or concern? Be right back.
My name is Owen, and yesterday Cindy and I were out walking in the woods at Highland Park, and not only did we hear the wood frogs quacking in the vernal pool, but on the way out, we encountered a flock of about 250 goldfinches and pine siskins up and down out of the trees, constantly singing with one another and over one another, and it was just an overflowing joy.
What did they sound like?
Well,
Go
the
ahead.
goldfinches were going. Oh, sorry. That's a cardinal. I can't do a pine siskin because the syrinx gets in the way. Highland Park.
Hi, so I'm Ellen, and this is kind of both a joy and a sorrow combined. Just to say, so last week was my birthday, 81, by the way, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. But so my family is generous. My brothers sent money. Ultimately, I got to talk to my son, although I had to remind him it was my birthday, and I wasn't going to, and the next day, and it wasn't really going to feel happy until I at least heard his voice. So, but all that is wonderful, but they're all so far away. My brothers are in Philadelphia, my son is in Colorado, and actually I didn't have anybody to spend my birthday with. And I miss them. It doesn't matter about the birthday. It matters that I miss them. And I never see them and haven't seen them for a couple of years now. So that's the sorrow. Hopefully I find a way to change that. But I'm so pleased to be here. So thank you.
And a belated happy birthday.
I'm Pam, and I guess what? I grew up in the Middle East. And we celebrated with the local folks on Bahrain Island Ramadan. And I'm really appreciative of this wonderful service. And I just want to add, Ramadan means, it means not eating until it's dusk, and then one heck of a party. It's in celebration of a very deep religious commitment. So I just wanted to add Ramadan.
Thank you, Pam. Who are you? Are you allowed to be here?
I've traveled miles to be here. So I have almost a corollary story of yours. So I was turning 70 on March 11th and thinking like, well, this is kind of a big deal, you know. And Rob came to see me on Friday night, and he made some excuse for coming, that he was going to see another friend's performance. So I sort of bought it hook, line, and sinker. And my girlfriend, Deb, amazing woman, she had me for weeks saying, "Oh, we're going to go to the Seacrest, which is a hotel that has celebrations and things, and we're going to see this hospital thing, performance." And so I just blindly went there, on Saturday, and I opened the door, and thinking that I was going to this hospital thing, and the first thing that I see is this young man, and it's like, okay, there's a young man over there, and then there's all these other people, and then I realize the young man is my son from California, and so not just him, but all four of my children were there. My brother was there from New Jersey, other friends that I hadn't seen for ages. I just was totally flabbergasted. And Rob finally found his way there too, after getting lost.
Some things don't change, Gary.
Hi, my name is Karen Schaefer, and a big joy for me is that my sister drove me. That's me. Right. My wonderful sister, Johanna, drove me here. And my sorrow is that I have been diagnosed with I can't drive myself, and I've been diagnosed with cognitive functioning. And I have to have this neurological exam, which I welcome, because if it shows that I, in fact, will be able to drive someday, it will be great. And if not, I'll just hire a driver. Anyway, but the other thing that I just wanted to make a quick announcement. The last time I was here with Steve Wilson, and I had said that humor is my spiritual practice, I gave him the wrong website. It's out of Canada, and it's called the UU Hysterical Society. And I would ask that it be included in the program next time so that you can all enjoy it.
We're willing to promote and foment mirth in this congregation.
That's right.
And if you want an Easter miracle, this is the right dress for it.
That's right. This is the dress that my housekeeper in Senegal had made for me to go to Easter services.
So glad you came.
I recorded a piece while I was there, and it's on sort of YouTube, but I can't get a hold of it anymore. But I recorded it, the video, just so you could hear the music of them playing traditional Easter music, but with Senegalese instruments, and it's really delightful. And the other, as you enter church on Sunday in Senegal, you say, "Hallelujah, Hallelujah."
Hallelujah.
I am Sandra, and I'm celebrating the resurrection of my peach tree. You know, we didn't get any peaches last year, but here come the buds for another season. Hallelujah.
Diane knew. Anyone else before we move on? Russ?
Hi, my name's Russ. Could you light a candle for a sorrow? I was here volunteering with the Stone Soup Cafe yesterday, and one of the patrons outside was very loud and very profane, and no matter what I or anybody else did, it didn't make a difference. And it took a while, and it's still taking a while for me to recognize that there's nothing I could have done to have made a difference. And I'm surprised, actually, coming back here today. I just feel triggered by it again. So it's it's a reminder that sometimes just I need to just step back and let whatever's happening be, and there's nothing that I can do to change it, as bad as it might feel. Thanks.
In just a minute, Matt, I'm going to see if there's anybody on Zoom. Anyone else who might like to light a candle of joy or concern or sorrow? Anyone want to make a prediction about the Red Sox? Okay, do we have anyone on Zoom, Matt? Okay. All right. Then I'd like to light a candle. Do you want to light a candle? Kate, did you want to say anything? Okay. So, Kate, if you would please light a candle for all those voices that didn't speak, but whose hearts are still expressing the split scenes of being a human being, the joys and the sorrows. And may they also be in our thoughts and prayers. So the closing hymn is number 121. Please stand and sing with gusto.
We'll build a land rebound up and broken.
We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. We'll build a promised land that can be. Build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. It'll be a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak. We're like oaks of righteousness and her people. Oh, come build the land, my people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. So this benediction is a prayer for the contentment, where it doesn't take much to make us happy, and it takes a lot to tick us off. And where the simplest things, the things that are the everyday miracles, are enough. Dying. So Brian will play the postlude, and then we'll have a little time for announcements, and there's also some chance to share some refreshments afterwards.
I'm as restless as a willow in a windstorm. I'm as jumpy as a puppet on a string. I'd say that I had spring fever, but I know it isn't spring. I'm as starry-eyed and vaguely discontented, like a nightingale without a song to sing. Oh, why should I have spring fever when it isn't even spring? I keep wishing I was somewhere else, walking down a strange new street, and hearing words that I have never heard from a girl I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider spinning daydreams. I'm as giddy as a baby on a swing. I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a robin on the wing, but I feel so gay in a melancholy way that it might as well be spring. It might as well be spring.
Thank you, Brian.